This guy is such a disaster, an unmitigated disaster on every level. Here's one way in which he's a disaster. This is an article from MSN. Let me read you just a little of this. Headline: Travel to the U.S. from almost everywhere is falling under Trump. Overseas travel to the United States has declined sharply since President Trump returned to office. Industry experts say some of the reasons are plain to see. Reports of detentions and deportations, including the weeks-long lockup of European tourists, have sowed fears of bad experiences at the border. Some countries have tightened travel advisories, and Trump's whiplash tariffs have ratcheted up international tensions. Last month, the number of overseas visitors fell nearly 12%. Good job, MAGA. If sustained, the decline could translate to billions of dollars in lost tourism revenue. Some would-be travelers are nervous about the Trump administration's policies. Others are enraged by his rhetoric. Some have doubts about their safety. The European Union has begun to issue its U.S.-bound officials burner phones for fear of surveillance. The drop in visitors from certain countries and regions is especially stark. According to the International Trade Administration data, there were 17% fewer visitors from Western Europe in March, 24% fewer from Central America, and 26% fewer from the Caribbean compared with a year ago. This data is preliminary because it does not yet include figures from Canada and Mexico, and the numbers from there are probably going to be much higher in terms of loss. Preliminary data from the Canadian government shows that as of March, the number of Canadians visiting the U.S. by car plunged nearly 32% compared with the same time last year. The number of Canadian residents returning from the U.S. by air declined 13.5%. Almost done, hang with me. From Mexico, arrivals to the U.S. by air dropped nearly 17% in March compared with March last year. Data for land arrivals, the largest source of arrivals from Mexico, is not yet available. The administration's actions have completely turned the tide for international travel away from the U.S. Of course that's going to be the case. Why would anyone? I'm surprised these numbers haven't gone down to near zero. I mean, really, unless you have to come to the United States, either for business reasons or because you have family here that you need to visit or whatever. Why the hell else would you come here? Really? If I lived in another country, I sure as hell wouldn't come here. I mean, you see, this article mentioned European tourists who were illegally detained. I just read an article from my neck of the woods just a couple days ago about an American citizen who was stopped at the border coming back into the United States from Canada. He's a lawyer and an American citizen. He was stopped, detained for hours, had his phone seized and searched, all of his information searched by Border Patrol. And American citizen, did nothing wrong, was just coming. I mean, what he did wrong was he was brown, you see. He obviously wasn't a white person, and so that's why he was stopped. Let's be honest about it. That's what it was. They had no legal basis. But this kind of thing happens all the time. And of course, legal resident Abrego Garcia that we've been talking about, kidnapped from Maryland and sent to a concentration camp in El Salvador with no due process of any kind, no deportation hearing, nothing. And he was a legal resident. And he was actually under orders from an immigration judge saying that this man shall not be deported, especially to El Salvador, because there is a real probability that he could be subject to potentially death if he were to return to that country. And so that man was kidnapped and sent down there. You see examples of this all over. You had that student in Massachusetts who was here on on an education visa, had permission to be here, but she wrote an op-ed in the student newspaper that the Trump administration, the Trump regime, the criminal Trump regime, didn't like, and so they snatched her up off of the streets. A bunch of masked federal agents descended upon her. I believe she's still in a detention facility in Louisiana, I believe. But you see this all over the place. The rest of the world sees what's happening here. See, that's the thing. The rest of the world isn't caught up in our partisan politics. They're much more objective in their view of the United States. And they see what's happening here. That the rule of law is out the window. That we have a dictator as president who is acting as a dictator, consolidating his power. We do not have a functioning government in the way that it's supposed to function. We have one branch of government, the Congress, has completely abdicated all its responsibility for fear of Donald Trump, seeking vengeance on them. And also some of them are just part of his cult. But, the Congress is no longer effectively operating as it is supposed to. The courts, Donald Trump is currently waging war against the courts. The courts are trying to push back at this moment. We'll see how this ends up, but our government is crumbling. We are descending rapidly into tyranny, and the rest of the world sees this. I see it. Most of you watching it sees this. By the way, I have many people who watch this channel from other countries, and I want to thank you all for watching. I want to acknowledge that because I get a lot of messages from people in other countries, and I'm really surprised by how many of you watch my channel, and I appreciate it very, very much. But you all see. You can, I'm sure, affirm what I'm saying here, that the rest of the world sees Donald Trump for what he is, much better than many Americans do. I see it, as I said, most of you see it. Really, the only sizable group of people, really in the entire world, who do not see it are Republicans here in this country. And if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be descending into tyranny as we are. But it is really almost the entire world versus this dictator. Everyone else sees it. It's just these frigging MAGA Republicans, because they are just so far gone, part of his personality cult, that they are so divorced from reality, they don't see any of it. They cheer this. They cheer this. The Abrego Garcia thing, they're all for it. Oh, but he's a gang member. He's a member of MS-13. He's an illegal. He's a terrorist, whatever they're branding him as. So they're perfectly fine with him being taken with no due process and sent indefinitely to that concentration camp in El Salvador. They have no problem with it. And you know what? Think about how sick this is. Even if it's true he's here illegally, which he wasn't. Even if it's true that he's part of a gang, which they've offered no proof in a court of law that he is. They are perfectly fine with him being kidnapped with no due process and sent to die in a concentration camp, because that's what it is. He's there indefinitely. This is not for a fixed period of time. 5 years, 10 years, and then he gets out. No, he's there for good. He's going to die there. They have taken away his personal liberty forever. He's done. His life is over. He's never getting out of there. Even if he were here illegally, even if he were a member of a gang, is the proper response to that a death sentence? To be put for the rest of your life in a concentration camp in El Salvador? Is that the appropriate way to handle that? That is worse than putting him on trial for some crime here and sending him to prison for a period of time. They just stole this man's life from him. His life, as it was, is over. And who knows how much time he has left where he's been sent to. And they cheer. They cheer. They're all for this. This is a dangerous and stupid cult surrounding and supporting a dangerous and stupid dictator. That's what we have here in this country. So why in the hell would anyone in their right mind come here? It's going to get a lot worse, my friends, before it gets better, if it ever does get better. But it's certainly going to get worse. Anyway, thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.